for me, it's so much bigger than a dating app what I'm building. For me, I see our generation, we're stuck in the keyboard. We're totally like, we've lost, so much of our generation has lost the human connection piece and like actually seeing each other smile. And that is so important to bring back to the dating space. So much of dating apps are leaving us feeling empty and just like, you're just shooting some chats back. It's so empty. And what we've done at Hulah is we've brought back that like piece where you leave our app and you're like you're fulfilled, and because you've actually been able to connect with someone. And so for me, it's much bigger. I'm bringing the generation back to actually connecting. And that's a really important piece that I think if we keep going down the path we are with, the current social medias and dating apps out there where we're just stuck behind that keyboard, we're losing what actually matters in life. And that's connecting with people. And that's, that's a piece that we are crazy about really putting back into the picture.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite, the world's favorite bearded man, Bobbbaaaay. Each week with our guest episodes, I try to put the spotlight on an expert who can help us reach our inner potential. Our guest today has evolved from a child actress to then dating coach to then dating app founder of Hulah, a video dating platform. She's also the host of the Hookup Podcast. Today on the podcast, Heather Hopkins.
Yay! Thanks for having me, Bobby.
Long time coming for this podcast.
I know.
I've been hitting you up for a few months about it, and timing is just so important.
I've been in the building phase. I've been head down.
I respect it. That's what you got to do, and I appreciate the communication of just like not yet, and then finally today's the day. So
we're gonna make it count.
We're gonna have a really good conversation, Heather. What I love about you is everything that I've come across in your podcast, on your content, like. You are so authentically you, and it made sense to me when I really started to dive in and realize like she's been acting since such a young age, which just gives her the permission to like really not care what people think. But I really appreciate the vulnerability and the authenticity of like how much you share with people to help grow their dating lives, or like the reality of like how do you make it work in 2022. So can you kind of like get me up to speed as to like, I know you kind of went down a rabbit hole of like being a dating coach, then the app kind of became the best next step as somebody who already knew she wanted to start her own business. Like, how did you know, like, I want to be a dating coach. I want to take the learnings and share them with anybody and everybody.
Yeah. Well, it kind of happened I mean, that's how life works. It's just kind of, you're like, how did this happen? But it makes so many dots just connected. And, you mentioned I started as an actress, and that's where I thought my life would always go. And so I started at 11 years old in professional theater. And then around 2017 is when sort of this big wave of social media came in, and my agent was like, you got to get on social media. And so that was really when like YouTube started to become a thing. Like people are vlogging, and he's like, get in there, Heather, come on. And so I actually was like, okay, should I try YouTube? And I'm such like, I like to live in the moment. And so I never felt like I connected with YouTube. And so I started a podcast, and this was very early. Like no one even knew what people really didn't start listening to podcasts until more recently. Like people didn't know that it was an app that's already on your phone. There's this thing called Apple Podcast. So I was already doing some voiceover work, and I decided, all right, well, I could try this because I can just do it from my house, and then I can go live my life. This is perfect. So I put a few podcasts out, and on one of them, I had my boy crazy roommate in college, and this girl was like one of my favorite people, but she was always having all the boy issues, and so I'd always be giving her advice. We were living together, and I'd always kind of calm her down and like, okay, like and so we just did this podcast, and it was called Boys, 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 and that is the podcast that really blew up. And people were like, hey, can you give me this advice for this? And so I was like, all right, let's do some more dating episodes. And then it just turned into this show where I'm giving people dating advice. And also, I was using the dating apps myself. And so it really organically happened that I sort of fell into this dating niche. And I was really frustrated with the experiences that I was having on dating apps. And so were my listeners. And so that's how I got into creating a dating app. It was really to solve my own personal problems and my listeners.
Wow. That's the beauty of like, you never intentionally was like, I'm going to go start.
No. I always knew. No. It was seriously, the whole thing was always like, wait, okay. And I was just like kind of going where God was taking me.
Yeah. Using that example, the college roommate who's the boy crazy.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest issues that she was having that you saw outside looking in?
Well, she was always going, there would be guys that would show their actions would clearly show that they were not being good to her, but she would stay in hopes that they would change. And that happens a lot. I mean, I've definitely been an offender myself. I'm no perfect person, but it's hard out there. But, you know, we sort of cling on to this idea that you can change someone. And that's what kind of she was dealing with a lot. And so it always kind of like, you know, you don't have to put up with that crap. Stand up for yourself, show your boundaries. Yeah.
Boundaries is the crucial one. And understanding that you're not able to change somebody, just completely changes your mindset and your perspective towards the person. What do you think this is like, I love chatting dating now, because this was like,
I know, I've been noticing that in your TikTok.
But it's also crushing for me too. Accidentally, I'm just naturally sharing things that I'm learning in real time, and it's like doing really well. And I was like, man, this shit actually like is helping people, and it's like doing well. So part of me is like kind of itching towards doing a little bit more of it. The goal wasn't to become the dating expert, but I'm I think that's the common theme across everything that I create is like, I'm just sharing what I'm learning in real time. And I think when I'm seeing the dating content crush, to me, it's just a green flag that, wow, people are struggling out there. There's not enough creators creating content, and hopefully that what I'm learning is actually helping them. So it's been really interesting last 5 months.
Let's touch on that, because so much content out there is so toxic. It's like the worst advice ever. So there's not enough. I mean, I'm seeing on TikTok, honestly, I'm on dating TikTok because of what I do. And so the stuff that I see, it actually like, it's almost, sometimes it gets in my head. There's tons of content that's made to like make you play games with people, make you, you know, overthink things. And I think it's so important to like, wait. This is not healthy. Like that is not, you look for someone to compliment you, and how you find that is by being yourself and not worrying about like, oh, but I want to wait to text them back, or I want to like be a power move and do. I think that's so much of the content that's being made is really all about playing these games, and that's not being your authentic self. And that's why I think a lot of the reason that so much of us are really having a hard time dating.
I'm a big fan of what you just said, because I see it all day long when I am scrolling on TikTok.
Yeah,
this shit is not like, like even this morning, it was like somebody had stitched a video, and the woman was like, you know, he texts me to like, do you want to hang out tonight? And then she's like, you could tell she's excited. And then she responds like, I'm busy. And then the guy stitches in, he's like, this is why you are single and probably miserable in your dating life, because you won't show the interest in him.
Yep.
Can you give me like just a couple quick bullets of like that, right? Like the playing hard to get, waiting to respond. Like what are some of the do's and what are some of the don'ts that you have seen successful in your own life and from people that you know have been successful in just the dating world of today?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing more attractive than someone who's confident in themselves and who is free in themselves. Like by playing games, it's almost saying that you don't feel that who you are is enough. So you have to play games to get someone to want you. And when you know who you are and you know like how much you can, you know, how blessed, you know, someone coming in, you know, how much that you can really add to someone's life and how much that you guys can really be a team. You don't need to play those games, because like you are enough the way you are. And I just see like, you know, it makes me really sad that people feel like they have to like almost paint this picture of themselves as this, like, I'm hard to get, I'm this, like, that is, you don't need to do that. You're making it so much more hard on yourself. And also you're going to attract the wrong person, because you're almost putting up a facade, you know?
Yeah, you're portraying somebody that you're actually not.
Right. No.
You start to like that person that
exactly.
Not, and then they realize that's not who you truly
And it's so freeing when you realize I'm enough, and by me being myself, I'm going to bring in the right person for me. And that's freedom.
Yes.
And that's what you want.
But that goes hand in hand with what you had said, like the confidence. Like you have to be fully confident with the person that you see in the mirror and go, I'm good enough. And if I'm trying to be somebody I'm not, that is, like you said, it's just going to purely attract the wrong person.
Yeah.
But what I think is the biggest shift for me that I've had in the last year was going from an abundance mindset, which is what I am today, versus a scarcity mindset. And I think that can be felt while you're dating and also in the energy that you radiate, because when you're acting from that scarcity mindset, it just feels forceful. Yeah. It feels like you're not letting things naturally grow versus the abundance mindset. It's not that you think you're Mr. Hot Shot or Mr. Hot Girl and can get anybody you want. It's just like, if this isn't the right fit for me, like I trust and believe that there's somebody else out there for me, or vice versa for you as well.
Yeah. I think also, I've noticed that age has a correlation with that. So as you get older and you watch your friends start getting picked off, I see a lot of people struggle with that. Oh my God, like I'm the only one left. Like why me? Why am I I think it gets harder to have that abundance mindset as you get older. But I think you just have, and it takes work. Like you just have to see how uniquely and beautifully you're made. And, I actually just had this conversation with a friend. She got into a relationship, when she was 22, and now she's 26 and back out there. And she's like, it's so different because I used to be like the young, she's like, it was just whatever, just messing around. And she's like, and now, I think she's also dealing with her ex is kind of going after all these, 22-year-olds now again. She's like, it's making her feel like, oh, like, hold on, 26 is not old at all.
26 is extremely young.
I know. But I think, what I told her is, cause she's very in her head right now of like, now I'm like this old, like, not as, and I'm like, no, you're not at all.
Not at all. But where does she live without calling her?
LA, Los Angeles.
Okay, hold on. If she was living in a small town, I would say that's totally understandable because like you said, like as you get older, the picking gets lower. But if she's living in LA, she is.
Okay. Well, I will say this feeling has been, amplified because these other guys that she's trying to talk to now are also kind of throwing her to the side for a younger. So I think it's more becoming more of like So basically what I said to her, I was like, you know what, listen, the only thing that you can't control what these other guys, who they go for, right? That's something you can't control. But I was like, listen, you have to know that you're a beautiful, amazing person who uniquely brings things to the table. And someone, and this is also, this is not my own thought. This is from my therapist that has told me this. And I remember she said to me, someone is going to feel that special thing with you that they're not going to feel with anyone else. No matter who comes into the picture, they're going to have that special thing with you. So you can't worry about any of the other things. They can find a Victoria's Secret. Who cares?
Yeah.
Someone's going to have that special thing with you. So the rest of it, throw it away, be yourself, live your best life, be magnetic, and don't worry about anything else. The age, whatever, like just know what you bring to the table and know how amazing, that someone's going to be out there with that thing that's special to you.
Yeah. Two things I wanted to say if she hears this. One, it's their loss, not yours.
Yeah.
And two words that I've been living by this year is let go. And you can use that in dating. You can use that in job opportunities. You can use that in any aspect of your life of like, if you showed up, if you put your best foot forward, if you're doing your best every single day, there's so many things outside of your control, but when you learn to just let it flow and let it go, that example being the guy.
Let it flow and let it go.
Yes. That's a bar right there. It's just so much easier to move on because the longer you spend trying to understand why this person doesn't like me, it's literally holding you back from actually making
exactly. I was like, do not let that take your color away at all. Like, no. Bye-bye now. Like, do not let that take away any bit of your shine. No.
So the age thing is another interesting part of dating, right? Like, I personally have seen like there's a difference between unintentionally like talking to. I'm 28, unintentionally like. I go after somebody and then realize they're 23 versus somebody that I'm talking to now that's a year older is 29. There's a completely different respectfully mindset and values and goals. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it from kind of going after people regardless of their age. But how have you approached giving people advice? Because I think that can definitely there's two different conversations depending on which way you go. If you date older, if you date younger, or if you're just looking at people for who they are and letting that be the thing if they're interested in you, if you're interested in them or not.
Yeah. I mean, I think it so has to do with what you're looking for emotionally. I mean, there's 22-year-olds who are extremely, I'm 25 and I would say I'm pretty emotionally intelligent.
You're much older than your age.
Right. But I think it's all about that. I think it's just, I think there's different, I think biologically, of course, there's factors that are different. But as far as does age matter? I mean, I guess to a point biologically, but mostly no. It's all about your emotional intelligence and what you're looking for.
We have a large demographic here of males. I'd say it's probably 65-70% males. So I'm sure they're listening with their notepads ready. We had a male dating expert on about 2 months ago, and I think that was really beneficial, but I think it's really interesting to hear from a woman's perspective. Yeah. What are some common red flags and green flags that you see that stand out the most that maybe the mass majority of the dating pool of males right now don't even realize? And it's definitely personal preference too.
Yeah. I mean, so I think that, well, actually I was just talking to someone yesterday because there's this guy that is one of my neighbors, and, we are so, honestly, he's not the best guy, but he somehow gets all of these beautiful, amazing girls. And so one day I was out and he was behind me and I was listening to him, and I looked behind and he had this really, beautiful girl who seemed like she was super cool. And I was listening. I'm like, how is he doing this? And you know what it was? He walked up to her very confidently and he had eye contact and he was speaking. He just made her feel special, and not in a creepy way of wow, you're so beautiful. Look at just a basic compliment. He was very, he almost tuned out the rest. Sometimes if you meet someone out and about, you might see someone pass by. So you break, being with them, present in that moment. And what I noticed is that this guy really was just totally confident and totally there with her. And it was very we've just been trying to figure out how he's doing this. And I honestly believe that is how he's getting these people. Now I don't know if he's special. Yeah, but it's so simple, but that's true. Another thing I would say is, shoot your shot. Never say no for anyone. People always are oh, Heather, you must get all these people. I'm honestly, I don't. I don't have a ton of people that approach me. I don't have a ton of people that really try to talk to me. Thankfully I now have a dating app that's out. So I am dating exclusively through that. But it's, I would say it is a numbers game at the end of the day, so shoot your shot. Don't say no for anyone. Don't answer for anyone, because you never know.
Yeah. The shooting of the shot is the part that goes with the confidence of knowing what you bring to the table.
Yes.
And you have nothing to lose and everything to gain from it. But it can be, there were times in my life where you're shooting your shot and it's not succeeding. And it becomes a game of you start to flip the script of what is it about me? Or
that's so that's kind of what my friend did. And that's where you have to go back to, someone is going to feel that special thing with me. It's not about, you can't control what the other person does, or thinks. So just shoot your shot, and don't say no for anyone. And just know that someone's going to feel that special thing with you. You can't control what the other person does with your shot that you shoot it.
That's right. Yeah. You're going to have a lot of guys sliding through your DM with making that comment that, no, I don't have a lot of guys hitting me up. So just be forewarned. There might be some DMs coming in after this conversation.
Yeah.
There was I think it was an IG caption that I came across. And we were talking about being single and changing the perspective of loneliness,
yeah.
Which I was wow. Cause I definitely, last year, there were certain times in my life, or even the last couple of years, where you would feel that, right? You would have an abundance of love around you from friends, from family, but you're lacking one type of love from a single person, and you feel this loneliness, which is like, if you're looking at it from the wrong perspective, it can really mentally like mess with you, which makes it so much harder to live your life and focus on other things. But how did changing your perspective of like redefining the loneliness and actually utilizing that time as being single, like help you as somebody?
So I got that word from, it was actually, I was talking, she's a pretty big CEO coach. And so we ended up in conversation and you know, what I do is really hard. I obviously have a lot of things that I'm working on. And honestly, dating has been hard to juggle between all of that. And so there is stages where I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, and I've also lost relationships because of what I do. And so that was really hard because I do have these points where I'm like, you know, doing all this stuff and I love what I do. But then there's those moments where you feel like, wait, but I'm just like alone on my couch, you know? And so I was kind of explaining this to her and she was like, well, who says that loneliness has to be this negative thing? What about if you're excited? Because now you have this moment to yourself that you can seize. And I was like, shoot. And so then all of a sudden I started like looking at my calendar and being like, okay, there's going to be a lonely hour here. What can we do? What can we do, baby? Let's go on a bike ride. Let's go to a coffee shop and let's pull out our computer and just redefine it. And almost like for me, for whatever reason, Sunday nights, that's when my loneliness hits. Don't know why. But now I'm like, oh, let's what do we need to like, what's this loneliness pocket? What are we going to do? And so I think just taking charge of that and having a different perspective on it, you know, who says it has to be negative?
Yeah. It's also too for somebody like you who's so busy that it's like these pockets of time where you can actually recharge yourself.
Yeah.
You can actually slow down, give yourself some of your alone time, especially being a CEO of a company where you have people probably pulling for your attention all hours of the day.
But I think in addition to that, it's almost like empowering because you're like, wait, I've been gifted this time in my life where it's me, and I might feel loneliness, but this type of feeling is only going to be here for so long. So let's make the best of it. And so it's a combination of, yes, I have a lot of stuff and I need to have my time to recharge, but it's also this combination of like, I'm not always going to have this single lonely feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, this is like the time where you can literally the day, and it's totally, you're in control of what you do and when versus obviously having to work with somebody else and trying to navigate their schedule.
Exactly.
Quick break from today's episode and then we'll get right back to it. Today's episode is brought to you by the greatest matcha brand in the world, Tenzo Tea. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been using this product since the top of 2021 and it's been an absolute game changer. This product is what helps me stay extremely energized throughout the week and helps me stay productive. And when I say energized, I don't mean like caffeine addicted. I'm scratching my neck. I got the jitters. This is a sustained energy throughout the day product. It has been an absolute game changer. I use it once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and this keeps me productive, focused, and just feeling great throughout my day. 64% of American adults drink coffee every day and they pay the price of dehydration, jitters, anxiety, and headaches. Switching out the morning coffee for matcha helps us stay level-headed, focused, and we get to avoid the coffee crash. Who likes a coffee crash? Not I and not you. Tenzo Matcha contains natural caffeine and L-theanine and keeps you energized and focused like a Zen monk. If you head over to tenzotea.co, use my promo code TheBeardedMan, all one word, that gets you 25% off every single order. That's tenzotea.co, TheBeardedMan, all one word, gets you 25% off every order. And each half teaspoon of serving has 36 milligrams of caffeine, natural occurring L-theanine, and switches your brainwaves to make you focus, meditative state. It's truly an incredible product. I mean, this podcast is truly all about helping you guys and gals reach your inner potential. And there is no better way to do it than with a product that's helping you stay focused, that's helping you feel energized, and honestly, just helping you get through your day. So I would highly suggest it. Head over to tenzotea.co. Use my promo code, TheBeardedMan, all one word. You're going to love it. You're going to enjoy it. Share it out and let me know what you guys and gals think of it. It's a great product and it's going to help you reach your potential. Now back to today's episode. You made the comment though about having lost relationships due to like this path that you're on. That to me speaks to like being very mindful of timing, right? So how have you navigated these hard conversations where you might see somebody, you might be very like aligned with somebody, but like either you or them feels like this is just not going to work because you're busy or I'm busy.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
I don't think it was very difficult. But I think it's just when, like for me, I just know so deeply what I'm doing and the entire process, I kind of told you how it's really just evolved and it's been so God driven, honestly. And I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So for me, it was like, this relationship that I was in wasn't, we were best friends. We had an amazing relationship, but at the end of the day, these things that I was wanting to do and that there wasn't an alignment with that. And so it was a very, very difficult decision. And it's just, part of the sacrifice. I don't think you have to sacrifice relationships necessarily, but I think I had to look at sort of, I think it's almost harder because it wasn't like, oh, we got into this big blowout fight and like, you're a horrible person. It wasn't that. It was like, these things that we see in our futures are not, he didn't want to be with an entrepreneur because he was like, you work too much.
You're right.
He's like, I know the thing is, he's like, I know you're never going to stop. That's the scary part. And I don't think I can see myself always with someone like that. Wow. And I was like, well, like I have this so strongly in my heart. I can't stop. I can't give this up. It just didn't align. And so, I think it's like, sometimes that's part of like, growing is you have, and part of like learning more about what you need is sometimes you have to leave things that you thought would be it.
Yeah. That's a really important perspective, but also mindset. Like you're confident enough to know, like, I need to do what is best for me, where I think there's many times people will sacrifice careers, opportunities, friendships, respectfully to like go follow wherever that relationship is taking them. But I think it's so important, and I've never been in this position in my life just yet, but I'm mentally priming myself for if that moment ever does come, is like, you have to always, in my belief, you got to do what's best for you, because at some point this person can move on from you or you can move on from them, and then you're back to square one. You just sacrifice
I think it's almost, I actually would disagree. Well, not disagree. Yes. I think we'll come, but I actually, I don't mind if someone, they feel that this is their person and that there's something that they need to compromise on. I'm actually okay with that. I think it's all about where the peace is. So like, if you have peace in your relationship, you're like, this is my person, but I just got this job in New York but like, we can't, I don't know. Like, I think if your peace is being with this person, then you should follow that peace. But for me, my peace was with my company. And I knew that I couldn't give that up I lost my peace with that, like that decision of leaving something to be with this person. That was not peace for me. I knew that this is how I needed to go. So that would, and this person wasn't willing to be with someone that was wanting to make that decision. And so that's why it separated. But I would say always go with where the peace is. And I don't think it's a bad thing, like this is your team member for life, so don't give up, it's not a bad thing necessarily to give up another decision for that person. I don't think, but if you have the peace for that, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely didn't want to make it sound like you just will snip relationship.
Yeah.
But I agree. It's getting very clear on like, does this align with where my values are, what I want, and as well as that other person.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, but
my God, so much easier said than done. It was the worst. Yeah, but
you're doing great though. You're still doing great. What's been one of the hardest lessons that you've had to learn along your dating journey?
Patience.
Let me rephrase that. What's the lesson that took you the longest to learn? not the hardest lesson to learn.
Patience. I'm very impatient. Very impatient. I am always doing stuff. I'm always moving and grooving. So patience and, yeah, I'm going to say patience is the easiest way to, the easiest umbrella to put everything that I feel under. because of course, like I have moments where like, even now, like I'm like, oh, like I would love to have someone, but at the end of the day, like I do know also I'm in a position where it's really my lifestyle and what I do is very difficult to have someone at this very moment. You know, my company is in a major growth period. I am like I have a lot of opportunities coming, and I just am like, I don't know. And I've broken up with guys recently for this. I feel that what a person deserves, I cannot give them that attention that they deserve right now. And I think I have little glimpses where I'm like, oh, I think I can maybe try. And I think it's like, I do genuinely try, but I feel like a little bit more at peace in the last, month, especially now that the app has launched. But yeah, I have had a long period where I'm like, I think it's also really important to treat people how you want to be treated. And I know that I couldn't treat someone how I would want to be treated. So, for them, they're like, no, Heather, you're doing great. Like, you're fine. I'm like, no, it's actually not fine because I know I'm not giving you what you deserve.
Wow. So that kind of brings up a topic of like recognizing seasons of dating, of like when you should be dating and when you shouldn't. So are you saying that you feel now that you're at a place where you just should not entertain it?
I think I'm getting out of that, but I go by where I feel peace. And I had stopped dating for a while. My company just launched, so I've been like so excited to actually use my own app. It's the best app ever. And so I'm like, yes, I'm back, baby. And so I have been just in like the recent weeks since we have allowed some people in, I have been using it, and I just went on a date on Saturday through it.
Okay.
In real life. So yeah, I think I'm definitely getting back. I do feel I feel like I can warm up to it.
Okay. That's good. It's important to recognize, because I've gone through this phase where like it's just not
yeah, it's just not hitting. Like you just
entertain it.
Yeah.
But then there's a place where you recognize like this is something I'm more open-minded to, which then allows you to step into it. Yeah. But what really I really respect is that it's so clear that the why of why you're it's interesting because you're creating a dating app platform, but yet you're willing to sacrifice your own dating life for the bigger purpose.
I know, right?
What allows you to do that though? That's like that you shows know what, Bobby? Your why is so aligned, and that's why like I would hedge the bet that no matter where this app goes, you're gonna find a way to succeed, because this isn't to make money. This isn't to. You're really doing it for all the right reasons, based on your willingness to sacrifice your own personal dating life for the app. Yes.
A lot of sacrifice. I think when you see so tangibly what you do changing people's lives, it's like for me, it's so much bigger than a dating app, what I'm building. For me, I see our generation, we're stuck in the keyboard. We're totally like, we've lost, so much of our generation has lost the human connection piece and like actually seeing each other smile. And that is so important to bring back to the dating space. So much of dating apps are leaving us feeling empty and just like, you're just shooting some chats back. It's so empty. Mm-hmm. And what we've done at Hulah is we've brought back that like piece where you leave our app and you're like you're fulfilled, and because you've actually been able to connect with someone. And so for me, it's much bigger. I'm bringing the generation back to actually connecting. And that's a really important piece that I think if we keep going down the path we are with, the current social medias and dating apps out there where we're just stuck behind that keyboard, we're losing what actually matters in life. And that's connecting with people. And that's, that's a piece that we are crazy about really putting back into the picture.
I love that. Before having the idea to start the app, how was your success with dating apps like Hinge or Bumble?
Yeah, so I used all of them.
Tinder.
And so, I mean, I think listeners probably don't know what Hulah is yet, but basically for me, what kept happening is I would chat with someone, they'd seem so funny and great, and then I'd get on the date. Within the first 5 minutes, I'd be like, oh no,
really?
This is bad.
You could tell that quickly.
Oh yeah. And so then I was like, okay, I am not wasting any more. Like, this is a waste of my time. I am not going on any more dates until I FaceTime with someone. And then it was like, and then I made that the rule of my podcast. So I was like, no more going on dates until you FaceTime. And then it was like, why isn't there an app where that's always part of the process? Like, that should just be weaved in. That should be a given, so that when you do actually decide to go and on a date with someone, you make an informed decision. You've already have that. You're already comfortable. You already kind of have a vibe for them. Like, you know what you're getting into, Yeah.
It almost is like a blind date, truly.
It is.
You could be just texting them and seeing images, but you don't know their body energy.
Exactly. So our whole thing is our profiles. They kind of look like TikTok meets Instagram stories. So in between your media that you upload, so in between your photos is your friends answering questions about you. So we call those Yad and Hype Men. So you're able to kind of see this other perspective of the person through the eyes of their friends. And then after you match, you first schedule a video chat and then you can message. But you always know, like, okay, before I decide to go on a date with them, I've seen some of their friends. I've had that, I've had that video chat. I've gotten to know them a little bit. And now let me go on a date and make an informed decision. So our whole thing is, let's get rid of these wasted first dates and let's make it so you're get to know who they are before the first date, and then go on a first date that's more of a stepping stone rather than a starting point.
Oh, you know your shit. You're good. So you're telling me I have to have a FaceTime with this person for how long? Is there
5 minutes? Mm-hmm.
5 minutes.
It's intentional.
Okay, so 5 minutes, and is there any like questions or prompts?
Yes. So your profile. Well, listen. We like to keep it really stylish here. So it never sat right for me to like write a bio on why someone should date you. Like,
you're literally trying to sell yourself. It's like,
no. So what we do is we call them ask me about. So you put like on your profile. So in between your photos. In between your photos is like some little things to ask you about. So you'd be like, ask me about my podcast, ask me about, surfing. My beard. When's the last time I trimmed my beard? And so then on the video chat, and by the way, it's scheduled. So it's not like random. Like, you just, before you can message, you first have to schedule. So you'd be like Friday at 5:00, and then you confirm it, add to your calendar, blah, blah. So when the video chat initiates, we have this thing called a cheat sheet. They can't see when you're opening it, but it shows their whole profile. So you have these already topics to talk about.
Cool.
Yeah. So
at least you're giving them some guidance.
Oh yeah, there's some guidance. But I also think like, some people are like, oh, you should make it like guided where it's like, games and stuff. I'm like, no. This is just see if there's a vibe. I don't want to do it. We don't like to do things cheesy.
Yeah. But once again, the whole concept and idea is to try to bring back that first interaction as if you're bumping shoulders with somebody.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And it's really cool because like people that have now met through Hulah, it's like, they're like, oh yeah, like they get to actually, instead of being like, so then he said, what's up? And then I said nothing much. Like, now they actually have things. They're like, yeah, we were laughing because the roommate showed up in the back. And, there's like actually a story, which is lost pretty much.
That 5 minutes can honestly speed up weeks of them trying to just.
Oh my! It is like once you use it, it's game changing. It is.
Now this is not me trying to toot my own horn. I don't think I've ever been, and this is me being very mindful of the woman that I have asked on dates. Where I've come across, once again, TikTok content. I forget the name of this guy where he's like, no texting allowed, just like ask the girl on a date and then like go from there. And to me, I'm like, that actually is not the right approach because there's a way to like feel each other out before that initial first date. Obviously with the app, you're like the video call, the texting, you can like build some type of chemistry. But I think it is so important that people be very mindful of like, it is a numbers game, but like you do not want to be going on 6 dates a week.
No,
like you should be the biggest issue that I had last year in my dating life was that I would meet somebody, I'd feel a connection, I would just immediately go for the kill of like, let's go out. And sometimes it would work, but I found I was more successful when I almost built a boundary around myself, right? And I allowed like there to be a little bit of conversation and like feel them out before I was like, we should grab coffee, we should grab dinner, like showing them that like I'm busy. And once again, it's not to like build this. Here's
what I would say.
Please.
So that's why I've always said that first dates should be stepping stones, not starting points, right? So a lot of what's happening in today's dating culture and a lot of what's leading to a ton of like trauma and people's negative feeling towards it is because they're having like 10 starting points at a time. No wonder they can't invest it or like actually build with anyone. And that's why, it's about having a stepping stone. So, you get to know them hopefully on Hulah beforehand. And then you make an informed decision to go on a date. So that now you're taking your first stepping stone. You're finally, you make an informed decision to go on a date. It's not just like this willy-nilly, let's go on a date. You don't even know who they are. Then, you keep building on that. You have to build a proper foundation. And that's where a lot of people mess up is they're just throwing so many things out there. And like a lot of people honestly don't deserve to have 2 hours of your time at a dinner or even at a coffee. And there's just way too many dates happening that shouldn't be happening.
That's a good point right there.
It's just the truth.
Do you have a rec? Go ahead, please.
No. It's kind of like what you said. You're like, wait, we have a connection. Let me just ask them on a date. That's happening a lot, and that's opening people up to a lot of unnecessary feelings. Yeah.
2 questions for you. What's the ideal first date? This is a really interesting conversation.
Actually, so our like at Hulah, we're all about getting to know who they are before the date. So we actually let you mark what your ideal first date is. So that
as Heather though.
So for me, I like to do something really easy to start. Like I like to get a glass of wine or coffee and a walk.
Great. Okay, good. I'm so for that, and I think that is a great initial first date. What was the other question I had for you? It was really important. I'm blanking. I'll think of it. It'll bounce back to me. I do remember. What are your thoughts on dating multiple people at the same time? This is a good one. This is a good one. Respectfully too. I don't mean.
Always respectfully. I think there's a point where you gotta make a decision, right? I think it's okay to have, a few people that you're in very early stages with, but then there's a point where it becomes like, it's getting cloudy. Like, how are you supposed to give that attention to someone when you're giving that attention always? Like I think this is a hard question.
What's your internal gut telling you though? You can say
My
it.
internal gut is saying that it depends on the person.
Okay.
So I think some people are good at compartmentalizing and they can be really mindfully dating multiple people. But then I think there's other people that they go all in their feels, and then they have these other guys as distractions. So like if you're mindfully like, I want to see, like I could see something with this person and with this person, let me see where it goes. That's okay. But if you're like, actually, I really like this guy, but this guy's just a side, whatever. And this guy's, if you're not communicating with that to them, then that's wrong, in my opinion. So like don't lead people on.
Yeah, I get it. It's the ability to be respectful in the sense of like knowing your worth and knowing what you bring to the table and wanting to feel out the right options to make sure that you're aligned. But then when you start to feel like there is potentially something there,
yes,
I wouldn't know how to do it like at multiple times, like to date multiple, because I'm already like super hyper focused on all this other shit that I want to do.
I know, like, it's too much.
One person takes enough time, energy, like resources of me that I'm like, I can't do like more than 3. Like it just wouldn't be possible.
I can't do it right now. I've been like the queen lately of like the second I know, let's get it done. Let's take it. I have this thing on my TikTok where I'm trying to figure out a word for this, but like, I'm like, let's take it out back and shoot it. I'm not leaving anyone whimpering. Take it out back. let's get this done with. Like I don't want to leave anyone hanging or like, like the second I'm very clear on what I think, like, let's, let me.
You just communicate to them directly?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Text, call, or in person?
Usually text. I mean, depends who the person is, but like lately just text.
Okay. And you just tell them I'm off this and I'm moving on.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell them an honest truth. Like the last guy, I was like, he had such a good personality and like we had so much fun together, but at the end of the day, like I didn't feel that romantic spark that I'm looking for. And so I kind of just told him that, and that's what it was.
Okay.
I mean, I'm all about honesty too. Honesty and kindness. Like, don't tell someone a fake thing. Like I have friends who'll be like, oh, like I'm busy. And like, just if you're not interested, like what people don't understand is I'm only going to say in my life one yes to someone. Like mostly it's going to be no. So don't take it personal. Like we're all mostly going to give no's.
This is true.
So, don't like, it's nothing don't take it personal at all.
Yeah. That's, when you put it like that, it makes it so much easier as somebody that is pursuing their dating life or is also on the opposite end and getting the rejection of like, yeah, she's not supposed to be.
This is part of it. It's part of dating. Yeah. It's part of it.
Yeah. You're sharp, Heather. You are sharp. Yeah, it's so good. What, I'm curious too, like your thought process of like, Hulah is the evolution of multiple. It's been like a rebranding, and it's been like, I think the original one was Goat Dating, then Gray's, now Hulah. What's been your thought process and like having to go through that process? Because that's not easy to do. No, not easy to do, but it's very exciting. We've learned so much, and I think what a lot of people don't understand is there's actually almost every app, has gone through several rebrands. So totally. Hinge has been through 5. I didn't know that. So Hinge was actually originally called Secret Agent Cupid. Yeah, I know. So it's actually really common. And what happens is you learn a lot about your people. And so what we've done is we've learned a lot, I have done tons of interviews, tons of surveys. I'm sure you see it on my Instagram. I'm always being like, I have a survey, who wants to do it? And so I'm always running, just constantly getting feedback. And Hulah is really a culmination of all of our learnings. And then we basically brought on some really amazing people in the space that, have a background in the space and put together all of our brains. And it's the baby of that. Wow. Yeah. I like knowing that that's exactly what happened. Like the understanding that it's not supposed to be perfect when it starts and just constantly tweaking and making those changes as you grow. What we really boiled down to is there's way too many wasted first dates happening. We want you to get to know who they are before the date, and that's what we do. And so we do that. That's what we're all in on. We're gonna help you see them in other perspectives, help have that conversation, help you. That's our whole thing, is making sure that you go on much more quality first dates. Yep, I agree. You had previously talked about FIRE as being the key to a relationship, which I think is also key in dating too, right? Yes. F for fun, I for intimate, R for real, and then E for encouragement. Mm-hmm. Why are these 4 the most important? Yeah. I think it's just a good base to, when you're in a relationship, to be like, let's go through each of these. Are we having fun? What do we do to have fun? Are we being intimate? What do we do to be intimate? I think you can it's a good framework to make sure that you are making a well-rounded relationship and building that together. Mm. Yeah, that's something I'm listening and noting as you're speaking, because this has been a long time coming for the kid, and I won't be surprised if it happens at some point. But it's it takes work to have a true. It does take work. Relationship. Yeah, and I think when you're with the right person, it's and you both want that, who doesn't want to talk about how you can have more fun and be more intimate? And intimate doesn't, there's so many little things. And I think it's just being in touch with your partner and being excited to be that for each other. Yeah. What's your advice? And this is definitely a personal question, but when you find somebody you're very aligned with and you feel it's definitely walking towards a relationship, but there's especially coming from somebody that's been single for so long, you then have the other side of your brain of but there's other people out there. If you, are you even ready for it? Is this just you being like just like telling you to jump into it. I've been single for 10 years.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm also like before my last relationships, I was single for 6 years. So
Wow.
I'm like very, very picky. I think it's just like what I try to tell some people are like, they'll like push a relationship. They'll be like, well, even though they're doing all these terrible things, they're like, no, but like they could be, it's like the right person, it feels very natural and effortless. And if you've ever been in a relationship, the one that you went in, typically it feels that way. So even though you are, you haven't been in a relationship in a while, that's nothing to like it's rare to find, but so you said you haven't been in a relationship in 10 years?
10 years.
When 10 years ago, how did that relationship feel when you went into it? Can you recall any feelings about it?
That's a good question. I think effortless would be the word.
Yeah.
It just naturally felt
if you go ask majority of people, although there is some weird caveats where like they were hookup buddies for a while, and then but like that's also there's the other root of that is it's very comfortable, and there's where you're yourself, and that's why it happened. But there's pretty much the same core of many of relationships, and that's you finally feel it feels natural, effortless, and you feel like you're yourself.
Oh, you're good.
And so that is why, like, even though you haven't been in a relationship in a while, you'll know when it's the one. So you don't need to push anything.
I agree.
It will flow.
It'll definitely flow. What about something recently I've been experiencing, which has been different, but I've been a fan of it, is kind of when starting to see somebody, a lot of people just immediately assume like by the second or third date, you're getting very intimate and having sex and then, whatever. This is the first time I've ever been talking to somebody where like that hasn't happened. And it's been very clear, like respectfully, she's very mindful of her mind, body, and soul. And she's been screwed over multiple times. And she was upfront about that in the beginning. And honestly, it made me more turned on to her because she just has such a strong boundary around her, which I think is like extremely hot. Have you like approached any content about that of like being slow to date, or like, is that anything you've ever covered before?
Well, I don't really cover sex at all. Like I think there's other people for that. I am really big on building a proper foundation. So, a big part of that is like, talking to each other and being like, hey, like this is some stuff I've been through. And, I think that here's what I tell people. I'm like, you'll never regret going slow. Never.
Ooh.
But you will regret going fast. And then you'll be like, shit, why did we do it? Like, you'll never regret it. So if you go like, so take what you will with that.
Wow.
Build the right foundation.
You'll never regret going slow. That is definitely going to be a title. There's going to be like 4 or 5 titles of this podcast. That's for sure going to be one of them, because people are going to see the relationship shit, and then they're going to see you'll never regret going slow, and people are like, click. What is this all about? I
mean, really, you can't, like, how could you?
Yeah.
Oh, I regret building a proper foundation. You know?
No, you're totally right. We're going to get into the final 5 questions of this episode. Wow, this has been really good, Heather. You're just gems left and right. Final 5 for you. These questions are one word or one sentence. And if you need to go over a little bit more, please feel free to do so. How can people learn to give themselves permission to follow their interests and ideas? This is now more of like the high level purpose of the podcast, of just helping people reach their inner potential.
Sorry, say it again?
Yep, sorry. How can people learn to give themselves permission to follow their interests or their ideas?
Give themselves permission.
I'll give you an example, like you following this interest of wanting to starting a dating app. That takes a lot of confidence, that you need to give yourself that permission to say, I have this idea, I want to follow it. I think a lot of people that listen to this podcast or out there in general don't have that confidence or won't take that first step. Yeah.
Okay. So I would say, when you have peace and strong conviction about something, go after it with every piece of you, and don't be afraid about what other people think, and just do it without thinking, kind of.
It's great. Question number 2. If you could go back and tell yourself one piece of advice at any point in your life, what would it be and when?
When I was starting my company, I was 22 years old and I had no one else to go to. I was like very It was very tough mentally, physically. I wish that I had made an effort more to use LinkedIn, use social media to reach out and find mentors and advisors way earlier.
You're still young though, 25, and you're crushing.
Well, now I have a lot of amazing people, but like I wish I had someone. I had no one to call, and that put everything on me. So anyone who's looking to start something, get people on your personal and business board, even though they don't have any equity, get people that you can ring up your phone and call them, and you can say, this crap just happened. Help.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Question number 3, what's an area of your life you need to put more effort into?
I think probably being more open to dating.
It all full circles.
Yeah.
Be more open to dating.
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge you.
I think for me, I have been very, very, well, this is also the part of the season of my life. I'm very laser focused. And so I feel like I've been a bit like I'll just everything, like I'll have guys like I think they try to talk and I just like goes over my head. I'm just not even, so I would like to put more focus on like being more open to being like, hey, like, it's okay to let someone in.
Yeah, give them a little shot. Give them a little taste if it aligns with you.
Yeah.
I love it. 4th question for you. What's the first step anyone can take to reaching their inner potential?
Being bold.
It's great. 5th and final question. What's a challenge you have for the listeners after listening to the last 53 minutes of this podcast? What is one challenge you have for the listeners today after they finish wrapping up listening?
Throw away the games. Approach dating like all the crap you hear about. Don't text this. Just throw it all away and know that you're enough, and that the right person is going to see how special and amazing you are. Throw everything else away and just sit in that and date with that.
Oh, I love that. There's definitely a script that is out there that we think we need to play by, which is playing hard to get, waiting a couple days to communicate with somebody after we meet them, showing
having the path. Yes.
All this bullshit that really is not.
And it makes you overthink, and it makes you, it's honestly, it's stressful. Like
it is. You're like trying to schedule it out.
I have like a very good head on my shoulders and how I think about things, but I freaking watch TikTok and I'm like, wait, like, and I get in my head. So I'm like, I can't imagine if like, maybe that isn't a space that you spend a lot of time in and know a lot about, like that can really seep into you. So be very careful about what you let come into your beautiful light. Yeah.
Honestly, the way you need to approach dating, in my opinion, is just forget what everyone else is saying you should do and listening to that gut. If it's somebody you're like, I'm interested in them, go pursue that. Or if you're not feeling it anymore, move on. But the whole games, and it's just I hope that this podcast episode specifically will kind of rewire people's brains to think and act a little bit differently.
Yes, I hope so too.
Heather, long time coming for this episode, but you are absolutely crushing it. Big fan of you. Big fan of the energy you put out there. I think what you're creating with Hulah is going to change the way people date. As somebody that hasn't been a big fan of dating apps, I think this is a platform that would make much more sense to me, because similarly, it's like I can swipe all day and I feel very like empty, but knowing like this is an app that's providing people put me in a room, I'm great. But like,
I know we hear that a lot.
I can't do it. I can't,
because your personality can shine here, and like we hear that all the time. Is like even girls, because it's only 5 minutes. Like girls are more likely to take chances on people, and so what we actually found is the guys who are like the guys that maybe didn't kill it on Bumble, Tinder, Hinge, they are thriving on Hulah because girls are so emotional. They're emotional beings. Guys are physical, but girls are emotional. So if you can connect with a girl and you make her laugh, or you have this swagger, which we can finally see, we get the chance to actually see that. It is a game changer for you.
Yeah, I believe it. So if listeners are listening and you're interested, you can head over to hulah.co. That's HULAH.co. And you can use my code directly, BH652 70. I'm going to have that linked up in the description below. Is this app available in all cities right now, US, or can you give a little bit of...
So anyone can apply. It is an invite-only app, but anyone can apply. However, if you use Bobby's code, you will get priority on the wait list.
Let's go.
At this very moment when you're listening to this, or actually when this is posted, we're really mostly live in LA.
Cool.
Well, we have had some people sneak in with codes, but so maybe if you sneak in, but yes, mostly our user base right now, we have about 12,000 people in LA. So we're growing really quickly. So hopefully we'll be in your city soon. So apply so you can get to the top of that list. But we are focused on LA at this posting date.
Hey, that's great. That's a perfect city to start with. So
yes.
I'm a big fan of that. Also linked up below, I will have Heather's Instagram and TikTok and social media, which is just it's Heather Hopkins, ITSHEATHER HOPKINS. If you guys and gals are listening to this podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube, make sure you screenshot this, post it to your story, tag Heather and tag me at Bobbbaaaay. That's BO 3 B's 4 A's and a Y. Let us know, what takeaways did you have on this specific episode? We had a male dating coach about 2 months ago. So now having a woman here, I'd be very curious to hear what you guys and gals thought of the episode. What did you learn? How did this episode change your perspective? Please share it out, as well as linked up below, along with Hulah's website. I will also have their Instagram, which is Join Hulah, and you can access and see more information there. Anywhere else I should be sending listeners after listening to this episode?
No, you got it all.
I love it. Heather, you are truly a rock star.
Thank you.
I'm inspired by your passion for what you're trying to build. And I think you brought a lot of wisdom to this podcast today that I really do believe will rewire and change people's perspective of not only the person they see in the mirror who's attempting their dating life, or just the way that they approach communicating to other people that they're interested. I thought you brought a lot of great value, and it's just been a great conversation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Bobby.
Absolute honor. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Bearded Man Podcast. See ya!